Get us oriented. We are in Schoology 201. This is we like to use this class to show you some of the more in-depth. Thanks, Handy. Turn on transcripts. All right. Okay, I'll start over. Schoology 201. What we like to do with Schoology 201 is show you the latest and greatest features of Schoology. We like to dive more deeply into features that there's no way we could cover during Schoology 101. So hopefully you all have some experience. Either you've taken Schoology 101, I would say kind of at a minimum, or you have a year or so under your belt with Schoology. So if you're brand new, cool, but just know this isn't like orientation to Schoology. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to spend our time in 3 main topics, which I'll share in just a second. Let me resume my share after we say hello. So I am Pete Connors. I am the Instructional Technology Coordinator for the East region. I'm joined today by...
Hi, I'm Josh Emond. I'm Instructional Technology Coordinator for the North region.
All right. So thank you all for being here, by the way. We had 24 people signed up. We're already up to 14, which I think we've already surpassed Josh and my guesses about how many folks we have. So thanks for joining us on a Friday afternoon.
Pete, did you have an attendance?
No, when we switched
on Zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's with these numbers, I feel like it's easy enough to just get them from Zoom. Another nice thing is I feel like folks, as we scroll down the participants list here, everybody has a recognizable name. When we've done this in the past, we get people that are in here on personal accounts or guest accounts or something. And I think we're all savvy enough with Zoom where we're on our district account and we have a recognizable name displaying. So that's great. Let me just check Teams here a second. It looks like one of our participants has a bad link. Actually, let me just see if I can just invite him. It's actually one of our STS lists, so. There we go. Here he is. Welcome, Jack. Thanks for reaching out to me on Teams. Glad we could get you in here.
Thank you.
Yep. All righty. So as always, your support team for Schoology, mostly comprised of your building's STS and your region's ITC. So there's 2 other ITCs out there, Gavin Molitor in the South region, Maddie Oakley in the West region. Every campus just about has their own STS, which is a tech department employee. They are on campus, a lot of, have an office, often or at least desk, maybe in the library, front office, or, or out and about. Those people, the STSs are your first line of tech support. A lot of times it's more for like hardware things, but over time, they get very experienced with Schoology and are super helpful for especially things like, that are, functional, navigational, maybe some grading setup type things. But, so start with your STS. It's a complex issue. Your ITCs usually have a great depth of knowledge about Schoology and are happy to help you out. So that you've got support out there. Both in the form of your STS and your ITC. Schoology also does maintain a pretty robust support center that I would say is kind of geared around how to. It's not a place you probably go to, like, if your students are having trouble logging in, like account issues or features are missing, or I don't see my courses. Like, it's not going to help you with that. That's maybe more probably, those would all be our version, our integration style issues. But like, how do I post materials? How do I create a group? Those types of functional things, they're going to have great videos and step-by-step picture-based documentation to help you do, the functional things within Schoology. It's also a good place to learn if you're kind of wondering, like, does this feature exist in Schoology? Can I live stream directly from Vimeo into my classes? And no, you can't. And you could probably find that out in one of those Schoology Support Center articles. All right, so let's get to it. I think I'm gonna jump one here and just give you the session topics first, and then we'll go into Zoom. 3 things today. We've got the Google assignment material app. Well, I guess Google assignment app, I'll call it. There are ways we've showed you in Schoology 101 where you can post an assignment to your class from the materials section. And then you could connect something like via a link to Schoology, to Google Drive. You could take you have a document in Google Drive and you just connect it via a link or the Google Drive resource integration. But what we're going to show you here, I think, is like the far and away the better way to, if you've got something that like I've got this product in Google and I want the students to complete it, like say a writing prompt or something along those lines, a template for a slideshow, and you want each to get their own copy, they complete it and then submit it back to you. Google Assignment app's going to be the way to go. The next one is a brand new feature that was released over the summer. It is the PDF editor. Super, super exciting tool. I was thrilled to see that one of the teachers at Inglemore, Suzanne Black, when she took 201, I think on Wednesday, she emailed the entire staff directory or the staff listserv at Inglemore and said, hey, you got to take this class and check out this feature. So if you've used Kami, it's kind of like built-in Kami. It's going to allow you to post, and they call it the PDF. Well, we've called it the PDF editor. What I've noticed lately is Schoology brands it more as like the annotation tool, which is right, because it's not just PDFs. You can put up all kinds of different files, JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs, Word documents, and then students can annotate on top of it. So like this is digital worksheets, finally manifested. I know a lot of times in Schoology people are, maybe posting a PDF and then giving students an answer sheet to complete so that students can type into the answer sheet, but they can't really type into that PDF. And this is what's going to allow you to do that. So the last one is the Schoology Assessment Builder, which is something we showed off before, but definitely a really, really powerful assessment builder that lives within Schoology. Josh is definitely our resident expert on that one, and he's going to take you through the different question types and the assessment setup within Schoology. So yeah, I'll start us off with Google Assignments, take us into the annotator / PDF editor, then I'll hand off to Josh for the assessment builder. So let me just hop back one slide. Again, this is 201. I'm sure you know how to get to Schoology, but it's, we get there through Clever, my.nsd.org. I did notice there's a change, I've probably seen in the last couple of classes, to Clever, where once you sign in now, you land more on like a profile, and then there's going to be district pages or in the center, and you can click over and then get to your tiles that way. So if you feel like that Clever looks different than you remember, just click on that district pages or district tiles in the center, and you'll see your standard tiles. I know that's something that, oh, cool. Someone from Inglemore messaged me and said that they're here because of Susan's advertisement for us. So glad to hear that. Yeah, so if you're noticing Clever looks different, it's there in the district pages. We're going to have a look. We're going to talk to Clever. I think Gavin's already reached out to them to see like, hey, is that a choice on our end to make it look like it used to? I'm not really sure like functionally how it helps us to have the change. So we'll see. All right, let's get there. So you're heading into Clever. Mine kind of looks the old way, it just lands right here, but that's just because I'm on like a district admin account. So click on my tile, I suppose I already have the course open, so I'm just going to pop over that way. But you know how to get to your, let's get you into this course too. Going to get a code here. I'm going to encourage you, when you land on your home page, to click up on the courses button here. Your grid will pop out, go to my courses, and then I want you to join a course. And you'll need an access code to do that, which I am putting in the chat right now. So just copy that code out of the chat and drop it into the access code field when you click join a course. And I am going to go join that course, which is Schoology 201 2022. And I'm going to check my members list. We've got the folks in there from Wednesday. And I should see the number of folks. Yep, so I got 33 in there. I'll keep an eye on that if I see folks. Yep, so I see that number going up. That's making me feel like the code's working for some folks. Thanks, Josh. Okay, we got a. Yep, I'm going to let that get into the I know we've got now.
If you're struggling joining or the code's not working for you, just chat me a message.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's take another minute with those codes. We had 33, I think, in there, and we've got 21 here. So still a little ways to go as far as people joining. Not that everyone has to, but let's just wait until folks are able to get that inputted. Cool. Yeah. All right. So we've got about 10 of you have joined, or at least it's telling me on my end that you've joined. Again, I don't have to wait for everybody, but just want to make sure that if you're interested in joining and getting the student view on these things, I just want to make sure you get the opportunity. Okay. So I think this thing is sitting at 43. So I'm going to say, if you need help getting into the class, just go ahead and reach out to Josh there. Otherwise, I'm going to get going with the Google Assignments app. So as a teacher, I want to go into my materials section of my course. And you can see right here, this one called Test. That is a Google assignment app assignment. I'll show you how it got made. So if I go to add materials here, you're probably used to looking over here on the left and saying like, okay, I want to add something to my course. Here's a variety of things that I can add to my course. But there's actually a few more things over here on the right. These are outside apps that have been integrated at a domain level with our ecosystem. Probably the first two are things that if you don't recognize them, no big deal. You know, CK12, I believe, is used for a particular piece of curriculum. And then Edpuzzle is something that some people, you know, a district tool or a digital tool that some people use. But that Google Assignments one, I think, you know, is something that is probably more recognizable as like, once we get into it, like if you've used Google Classroom, you'll know what's going on in there. Okay, so I'm going to add materials and I'm going to choose a Google Assignments app.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
This is Andy speaking. I have a question for you. Those
According to Merriam-Webster,
sorry, my phone heard me say Google and took off.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
sorry,
okay.
Andy.
The three things you just hovered over, are those new Google Assignments and Edpuzzle?
No, those have been there for, I think Shelby added them right around the time we got Schoology. So Google Assignments was something Schoology made. Well, I should say that probably showed up within a year of us starting. And then I would say the same thing with Edpuzzle and CK12, as those were things that were integrated, you know, probably pretty soon after we started, within the first year of Schoology.
Okay. Wow.
I just can't really think like what people, like the CK12 one, I'm not really sure what people use that for.
No worries. I'm excited about the other two. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I feel like Edpuzzle is something that a lot of people, use with their own materials, but I'm pretty sure the CK12 one is tied to a piece of curricula that I'm not sure which subject it is. Yeah. So yeah, Google Assignments. It's essentially Google Classroom's assignment builder, but in Schoology. So yeah, let's go ahead and click on that. Sure. I guess I'm clicking on it. I'll serve one out to you. So I hit continue. And you can see the whole color scheme changes. It really looks like I'm in Google Classroom, like I'm no longer in Schoology. And you could see when I created it, it said like, hey, link your account. Like, yeah, I know who you are in Schoology because of who you are in Clever. And I think I know who you are in Google. So just tell me that all three of these accounts all line up. And so you just say connect. Oh, I think the word was link, and you link it up. You can see here that this has got, it's a little bit more limited in and this was true of Google Classroom in general. You're not putting it in a category right here. You're just saying total points out of 100. Then you choose a due date for the assignment. So I'll probably make this tomorrow. Done. Friday session test assignment. And then all I have to do down here is I can plug in some instructions. So if I had a document, say, that was going to be a template for a slideshow, I could say, use the template to build your slideshow about a country in the world. And now you can put in a rubric. Was something in Google Classroom that's been available. It's like you can create or reuse them or import one from Sheets where it's gonna, where students can then use that to measure what they're putting into the system here. The plagiarism engine, what this tries to do, it's kind of like Turnitin, but it's not as accurate as Turnitin. I think where it shines is it perhaps looks at it looks at submissions from your students and compares it to documents and Google Drive files across your domain. So if two students turned in slideshows that were exactly the same, it's going to notice and it's going to flag it for you if you turn that on. I will say it gets a lot of false positives, especially with if you wrote an essay and it tried to pick up word chunks. It's going to say that this person's word choice seems like this person's word choice. But I think if you have structural things that are the same or pictures that are the same, it's good about picking those up. So you can try it out. But I just wouldn't make immediate decisions based on its results until you had a chance to review them yourself. Then down here below is where this kind of is probably reminiscent of Hapara, where you are choosing, am I going to attach something from my drive, or am I going to create something and copy it out to each student? So you can imagine if my assignment was, students were going to have a slideshow that has to have, it's about they pick a country in the world, and in 5 slides, they need to present, the country's name, its climate, its economy, a slide about its culture, and a slide about its language. I could already have made a template, with 5 slides with those headings, and then students complete it from there, in which case I would go down to this attach button, and I would find that slideshow, and so in this case, if I just take the one from today, if I added that, now that slideshow, what's going to happen to it? Well, each student is going to get their own copy. Versus, I could say, well, just create a slide. And it's going to kind of wait for a second here. And I can actually go into this slide ahead of time and do some work on it. So if I just was creating one fresh, but I did want to build out a template, I could give it a title here and say, okay, country presentation, And then, in each of these, I say, Spain, and then, or I guess I say country name. And then I have a new slide, and I had, climate. Boop, boop, boop. What else did I say? Economy. Language. Capital. I don't know what I say, location. So now if I have that slide built out, and I come back over here, I believe that that's going to, now that I've named that, when I send it out to you, which all of you are going to get this assignment, you will have those things, templated for you. So let's go ahead and hit create. And if you remember back to like cert, or I mean, maybe you still do, if you cert when you're, is assignment not created? Why not? Is it because I changed the title? And if you got too fancy here by changing the title, it's probably now like, what is that? Boo. Okay, new slide. You go to slideshow. And then when I hit create, unless my Google account is unlinked, that could possibly be the case. It's worth 100 points. Has a due date. What doesn't this thing like? Okay, let's try one. Yeah, so it did. My account is connected. If you have issues with Google integration, here's if you have issues with the Google integration, sometimes if you go here to the apps and look at the Google Drive resource app, you want this to say that you are connected to your account, which I am. So let me go try that one more time, because that's weird that didn't work.
Do you want me to try and do it, Pete?
Yeah, well, here, let me try one more time. I wonder if it's because I got clicking around too much. Friday test slideshow. Entry slides. Create blank slideshow. All right, send it out. Okay, that worked. Yeah. All right, so now on my end, when well, wait a second, Josh, did we? This happened to us before, right?
I don't remember it happening before.
I thought I made one and then like it didn't immediately show up.
It did, because there's a little bit of processing time.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is what I had started to say before that, through that error, is when you create it, you're telling Schoology to tell Google to make a copy of that slideshow and put it in each student's Google Drive Schoology folder. That takes a little bit of processing time for Google to queue that all up. So it doesn't like immediately show up in your in your students area or in yours. So I'm just going to try to refresh this again. Seems like it should be here by now, though. I don't know, Josh, you want to try one?
Yeah, I'll try one here real quick, but I'm also wondering, there's been those Schoology issues that have been popping up the last week that they've been working on.
Okay, so and Diane says she's having the same issue.
I'm wondering if this is something related to that, but I don't know.
Do you all have this? Can people give me a thumbs up or just say in the chat? Do you have this test one? Did it send one out to you when you joined the class? Kind of doesn't look it. Oh, okay, Jack does? Yeah. Oh yeah, Jack does. Okay. But this doesn't look like everybody who's in this class, though.
I see the test assignment.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Again,
good.
Mine's the student view. I don't have the teacher view.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. I just feel like Oh, this is the, if they submitted it back though. Okay. So, but it asked me to log in when I click on it. I see test, but it asked me to log in when I click on it. Okay, Danielle, that's fine. If you do log in when you click on it, do you land on a document that you can fill out? It's just a Word or a Google Docs doc.
Yes.
No, Andy, I haven't answered Lexi's question yet. I was gonna, once we get into the grading of it, I was gonna answer that. Thanks.
Yeah, Pete, something's up because it's not letting me add it either. But I can go into the ones from our previous training.
Okay.
So like the test one, that's actually one we created on, was it Tuesday or whatever it was? Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't remember what day it was. But right now it doesn't seem to be letting me actually add one either.
Okay. So there, well, just to give you some behind the scenes right now, I know you've probably noticed and seen in other courses that if your school hasn't pushed out your schedule yet, you're not able to create courses. And I know, like Andy said, that it sounds like maybe Bothell has pushed some schedules into Synergy, and so therefore his account is allowing him to create courses. I don't think that's true at most campuses yet. I know the data team. Oh, cool. Okay, so Danielle was able, to get to a blank Google Doc. Yeah, so at least the test one is working for folks, but that's one that was created, earlier in the week. I just wonder, like Josh said, maybe because the data team is trying to convert your accounts into teachers currently, if maybe their work has, buggered your ability to integrate with your Google account right now. That's it, or there's just some other kind of lag. But obviously,
It's weird though.
it's weird. It's very weird. So yeah, let's if you click into that test one from that we created for the other class earlier in the week, that'll work fine for you to see what this looks like as a participant. And I can just give you the context on what we did with those folks and then show you what it looks like as a teacher to receive submissions. So if I click into the work that my students did, and this gets into answering Lexi's question about like, how is this different from using the Schoology assignment and attaching a Google Doc. You can see here that like when the student clicks on that assignment, they are given whatever I sent them. So either a copy of something I already had. So in this case, I just sent out, or a blank document. And so like, let's say my instructions in that assignment were to write a 4-sentence paragraph, minimum 4 sentences about how my summer was, or my favorite memory from summer. Students would each receive one of those, and then they would type into their document up in the top right. And if you clicked on on yours, you'll see this. They're in a builder, but then in the top right, they have the ability to it'll say submit, and they can click it and submit it to me. Once they submit it to the teacher now can see it here in the system. And if you look around these sidebars, and this is the part about the benefit of, it's in like the Google Classroom style for grading or scoring, commenting, and suggesting, which I think, and I know a lot of folks who have used it, folks find that the UI of it to be pretty easy to navigate. And then also the fact that it allows you to use the suggesting engine to be pretty powerful for giving student feedback. So here's Ashley's. She wrote, or maybe I'm going to jump over to Jack's actually and just Jack, I'm not sure how much you wrote yet, but if anything, yeah, great. So here we go. So Jack submitted his work, and he has a sentence here. And when he's hit submit, it shows up in my list as the teacher of submitted work. And so I can sort this by like the status. Okay, so there's some that I've graded, there's some that I haven't that have been submitted to me. and there's some that are missing because the due date for this was the day that we taught the course. So unfortunately for all of you, you know, that have now clicked on this, you're late. So that's why Jackson said missing and now says submitted. So I can come in here now and I could use this. You can see by default, I'm in suggesting mode. And the cool thing with suggesting mode, this is different from commenting, is I could come on into this text and I could make a suggestion. So if I wanted this to be hello instead of hi, I can type right onto it and see how it's saying, you know, P. Connors is suggesting that you replace hi with hello. If I was doing like a first pass draft for a student and looking through just for spelling and grammar, I could use that suggesting engine. They can then come through and accept or reject the suggestion, or comment on it to ask, questions about that feedback or how they might go a different way with it. That's the suggesting part of it. I could also grab a piece of text and make a suggestion, or sorry, a comment. Like, so I could come here and say, and make, like, let's say if it was an essay about the summer and someone said, they had 3 sentences, I could highlight the whole thing and say, hey, Jack, I need 4 sentences. Can you add another one? And that's just a comment that'll show up on the document. He'll get an email in his Google Drive about it. And it's something that once he adds it, he can resolve it. So versus there's this back and forth that can happen within the documents because of the suggesting and the commenting. You also have emoji reactions. So, kind of a quick way to mark up a student's work. So if you've got a comment bank here, so you could have, imagine the comment bank as being like the things you'd write at the top of a student's paper in pen when you're grading work, say. You could have some of those, or you could highlight sections when they tell their memory from summer. You could highlight that and then throw just an emoji comment on it, in order to convey a reaction to their work there. So suggesting, comment bank, and then the emoji reactions are all things that you have there. You can type into it directly if you need to. And once you're done, if you now have the option of returning it back to them without a grade, like say you put comments on it that said, hey, this is only 2 sentences, I really need to see, more here. I could return it to Jack, or I could put a grade here, say, 100, and overall feedback, thanks for great sharing. Put a comment then on the overall thing, then I return it. So Jack will get a notification that says that he got 100 out of 100, return that to him. And then up until the actual due date of the assignment, Jack could make a change and resubmit it. So now that it's past the due date, I don't think he can. But now you can see here as a teacher, I can then go up to the top, just click over the next one, and it can go sequentially up and down this list in the way that I've sorted it. So if I go to the top of the first person for whom I haven't done a grade, click here. All right. So now I can, grade the work here. Oops. I can go into my comment bank and copy that to my clipboard, drop that into the comments, or drop it onto the overall feedback, return it. And that's doing one return at a time. You also have the ability to do like bulk submissions. So here, if I go down to Andy's, thanks, Andy. I'm going to put an emoji reaction on that. I can give Andy a grade. And then without returning it, I can come up to here and I can go to the next person who submitted it. It's just I think it's like it's quicker than doing like the regular Schoology assignment one to navigate through my students. So I can go to Deborah's and, let's just say, assume something was written there, but grade hers, move to the next person who's turned something in. Give her 100. And then you can see up here, when I go up to return, if I click return, it's going to return it just to that student. But I can actually come over and say return multiple submissions. Click on that, and it's going to suggest, like, okay, since the last time you returned stuff, you have graded, made some changes to Ashley's grade, and you graded Andrew's, Deborah's, and June's. Do you want to return those? And if I thought, oh yeah, right, I want to circle back and put some more comments on Andy's, like I could uncheck his, and oh yeah, Ashley's, Debbie's, and June's are definitely ready to go. And you can see here, like the ones that I've already that are all set, that like Jack's, he's not even on the list here because like that one is it's gone back to Jack. It doesn't need to be on the list because there's been no change. He hasn't resubmitted anything. And the latest interaction I made was grading it and sending it out to him. So if I return those to those folks, they get their submission. So yeah, Lexi's question there about like what's the benefit? I think that just the UI for navigating through your submissions, commenting, suggesting, and grading makes it just smoother than what you have when you connect a Google Doc to the system. Oh, my phone heard its name. Also, the copy out feature. I think when you use the Google Assignments app, I think you're connecting a single one that has privileges on it, like maybe just view only, and then you have to say, okay, once you get your version, make a copy of it, and now that is what you're going to use. Whereas this can do the copy for you, so it almost has like a Hapara flavor to it. So yeah, that's the Google Assignments one. Just makes it really easy to, if it's going to be a pretty straightforward, here's a piece from Google Drive. Oh yeah, and then you can bump out to this and kind of get your big grading hub, and I can see who, how many folks have submitted it, how many I've returned to give me an idea of what else I still need to do in here. Cool. Yeah, and who hasn't submitted it. Great. Cool. Todd Parker. All righty. Cool. So my next stop is a PDF annotator. And I believe, let me just check which one that is. Because we got two in here, and one of them is oh Josh, that's your assessment, isn't it? Oh, so it must be this one. Yeah. So the PDF annotator, there should be an assignment in your list called Math Unit 1, 4th grade. And if you click into it, I believe you have a button in the assignment that's probably over here on the right. I think it's like Start Assignment. So that's right, Josh? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you click into Math Unit 1, 4th grade, Start Assignment, you should land in a PDF math worksheet, and you'll have drawing tools within it. And so what I'm gonna do here is take myself out as a teacher or as an admin so that I can be a student. And I'm going to go into this worksheet and hope that it doesn't remember that I did so if I resubmit my assignment, because I did it once already a day or two ago, this should be showing what you're seeing. And I'll give you a little description of, we'll do the student side first, and then we'll build a new one from the teacher side. Okay, so yeah, this is stuff that I filled out on that problem, but I'm just going to jump to the next page so you can see what it looks like to write on a fresh page. So this is a PDF, and it is, it's not a fillable PDF in the sense of like, when HR sends you a document or you apply for a mortgage or something like that. You are using an annotation tool to write on top of the file. And so you can see I've got some tools across the top. They're divided into a type and a draw tab. So go ahead and just click between the two and see you've got like, pen tools, shape tools, line tools, arrow tools, an eraser, all available within your draw tab. And then over here, you've got a highlighter. And if you just hover over them, you will get those tool tips. Hey, Josh, do you know the answer to June's question in the chat there?
Does the assignments hub page note? I'm not 100% sure on that. That's something we might need
Yeah,
to look into.
I am pretty sure it does, June. I could have sworn when I had it open that it said because who resubmitted theirs? Did Jack submit it? Someone had a resubmit, I believe. No, Ashley did. Ashley had a resubmit, and it did say that. Yeah, so I think it's gonna tell you, give you a flag for people that have resubmitted. Yeah. Yeah, so when I look at this one, tool tips are useful here for seeing what these things do. Because when I first came in here, I was like, oh, what do these things mean? But some of these are really cool. Like in this type one, you could grab a pen and try to start writing with a trackpad, and end up with, unless, well, I don't know, I'm doing better than I did last time, but
that looks like my normal handwriting.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, but you can see how slow it is for me to do that versus to like grab my text box and insert my text here and just boop. So, a little difference in speed, but then you can see here, like if I want the students to underline, I don't know, like the number words in this sentence. So when I look at this, okay, the puzzle has a large number in the middle, which is the sum of the 4 numbers. So, okay, the number 4 needs an underline on it. Like, so they could come and they could grab the pen tool in red and try to freehand underneath it. And, that could go pretty well. But what I can do instead is like come over here and take this underliner, and here I'll erase it so they don't get, contaminated here. But if I grab this underliner, I can just kind of highlight the text and notice it like very nicely underlines for me. Or if I want, students who are supposed to say, like I know when I was teaching 4th grade, one of the things we do at the beginning of every writing lesson was, I'd have a prompt that I would write up on the board ahead of time, maybe 2 sentences that they're supposed to, as they're like entering the room, they grab a piece of paper and they rewrite the sentence, correcting the grammar and the spelling. So one thing I could do here is, if you look at these choices, I could say, you're going to go through and you're going to underline the subject, grab your underliner, find the subject, and then run an underline under it. If it was going to be like, okay, I need you to strike out the words that are misspelled. Well, with that, I'm not using a pen. I'm using this tool here that's called strikeout. And it just gives a nice clean line through there. There's the one that's called the squiggly. So if you wanted like, okay, I want, the subject to have a squiggle and I want the verb to have an underline, well, then you could do that by jumping between these two, and you can see here, squiggly.
Squiggly is my favorite.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah. And they can be different colors too. So, if you want to have that choice made, you got the freehand drawer. You have a freehand highlighter. So, if you want to get wild with your highlighter, that's definitely an option.
But there's also the highlighter at next to the underline tool on the top
here. Yeah.
Where it'll just highlight. So instead of like the freehand squiggly, it actually highlights nicely across the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had students read an article and they were supposed to highlight, 3 key details that they are then going to reply or respond, use it mentioning in a written piece. Okay, well, there you go. They have that. And then if you have an open space for them to write, which I'm not sure if I can find it. Yeah, well, it's probably an openish space. I could come down here and I could start typing. So if you had a blank area that was, to reply to, something they had just written and highlighted, well, then they could. So you can imagine, like, really no matter what type of worksheet you're talking about, you have pretty decent tools, especially as it comes to writing. But then if I jump over to draw, I do have shapes. I have my freehand writing tools. I have some different types of lines, polyline. I believe I have a variety of arrows that I can work with. So if I wanted to, say I have a diagram and I need to mark up, what are the different parts of the body, like have arrows pointing to things that are part of different systems within the body. Like, perfect. Well, you can grab those arrows, and blue arrow maybe red arrow is gonna be, cardiovascular, blue is gonna be skeletal, that kind of thing. And you could have arrow annotations on top of a diagram. And remember, it doesn't have to be a PDF. Like, you could put in a JPEG. So if you have a scene, just an image, and students are supposed to mark it up, you can do that. So my doc was kind of getting in the way there, but you can see once you are done with the assignment, and this thing is 25 pages long, so we're not going to do that live. I do have a submit button down here at the bottom. Yeah. Oh, June, you got another question. Okay, sorry. PDF annotations only when you.
But go ahead, Pete.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the PDF annotation ability. Let's do that now. I'm going to return to being a teacher in this class.
Real quick, while you're doing that, to answer.
Actually, Josh. Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, you go, Josh.
Answer June's question. The annotation feature that we're showing here is separate from the Google assignment thing. So you could have a PDF or a picture on your laptop, on your computer that you upload that you want them to annotate over. It doesn't have to be Google. It's its own separate thing. And Pete's going to actually show you how to set that up next.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably could have done this in the opposite order, but yeah, June, here's the Google Assignments one is here. So when I'm the teacher now, I go to add materials and Google Assignments, it's its own hallway I can walk down. But if I go to add assignment as a teacher, so this is maybe the traditional assignment builder that we're used to, you'll notice a new button called Annotations Assignment. So completely separate from Google Assignment. This is, you get there from the Create Assignment, and you can see, I think you probably, yeah, with the new ELA one, yeah. And I mean, that's pretty common, is that publishers, we can sometimes get them to give us PDFs of things, but you're very unlikely going to get Word documents or Google Drive, documents that are editable, because of copyright reasons. But to get an image or to get you could even take a picture, and if it's a crisp enough one as a JPEG, put it up here as an annotations assignment. So yeah, this button should be new to you as of this year. And you can see that it says supported file formats are doc and docx, so that's Word. HTML is, coding language, but I don't think you'll probably there's probably people that can imagine HTML files that they want to use this with, but I honestly can't, doesn't come to mind. JPEG, another type of JPEG, PDF, PNG. So those are, mostly image files, and then portable documents, the PDF. PowerPoint and PPTX, those are both PowerPoint files. Rich text is like Notepad files, text files also like Notepad files.
Lots of options. Lots of options.
Yeah, and then you got some spreadsheets there too. So if you've got things sitting on your computer in those Word or those Office formats, or you have PDFs and PNGs and JPEGs. You just put them up and click on. So if I click on this annotations assignment, it's going to tell me like, okay, where is it? Then I go onto my computer, I find the PDF I want to upload. I fill all this stuff out as I usually would, with an assignment name, due date, put it in a category, just like you would with any other assignment. You hit create, and then you'll end up with one of these. It looks just like a regular assignment, except when you click into it, you will see your student submissions across the side. Yeah, it looks like Andy maybe submitted something to us. And this is what it looks like to grade one of these things as a teacher. So Andy, definitely got the first question right there. I'm sure Maria has many squishies, lots of them available to her on the day after her birthday. So absolutely. When I type in his grade, a little comment shows up, showing it to the student, sure. And I can submit that back to him. I can put comments on it and post them before I post the grade if I want to give a little bit of feedback. And then I do have the opportunity as the teacher to put notes directly onto the document, to write on the document, to draw on, to type into the document. And then once I give him a grade here and I submit that back, he would be able to see the things that I produced on it. I believe this one here, what is this? Yeah, I can see if he and I have like a back and forth of submissions, I can see the revisions as they manifest. And then similar to the Google one, before I hand off to Josh here, you can see like, here's other people that have submitted things. If you don't submit with a grade and leave a post, will the student be notified of your post? Yeah, they will be. It'll show up in their notifications in Schoology, and it'll show up in their, like when you first sign in over on the right, there's kind of like a recent activity hopper, or feed, I should say, and it would show up over there. Yeah. Yeah, and then down along the bottom, I can see other people that have submitted things, and I can click over to them. So it's maybe not as rapid fire as the Google Assignments one. I do have to like go person by person, having a look at their work. Yeah, here we go. So this is the freehand drawing versus the typing it out. Oh yeah, and then that's going to show up here. Same thing. Put the on here and send that along. Yeah, thank you, Josh. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like that you can have the typing up together. Oh, here we go. Yep. So
Mary is a math teacher, by the way.
What's that?
Mary teaches math, which is why.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Cool.
Missing a label there.
Well, it's math, not science. So.
I feel like that hits the end of the PDF annotator. And let's see, we've been at it for what, 55 minutes? So Josh, I feel like I got to get it over to you for Schoology Assessment Builder.
All right, give me 1 second.
Sure. Yeah, hey Philip, the 7th and 8th grade, so you do use Synergy. It will be connected to your courses automatically. If you're new to the district, I believe there is some training that was available earlier this week, and maybe through the induction TOSAs too, that had to do with connecting your Google Drive, your Schoology and your Synergy. I know Gavin taught that class. I know he's already processed the recording of it. And I think this probably is a question a lot of people have, is like, where are these videos going? We're going to put them up into our YouTube channel. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they get shared out via one of Tracy Malloy's email blasts next week. So yeah, look for one in there that's got to do with connecting your Synergy gradebook to Schoology. Because there's just a couple tweaks you need to make in your categories so that Synergy knows, hey, these ones are assessments and these ones are assignments and these ones are classwork, that kind of thing. just kind of making a few connections behind the scenes.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is wrap up with some with the assessment tool that's in within Schoology. I almost said the wrong S system. I almost said Synergy instead of Schoology. It's a long week. Those words kind of start to intermingle in my mind sometimes. In the class, if you look in the materials section at the bottom, there's one that says example assessment. And so what I'd like you to do is take a few minutes and actually go through that. It's just random questions from, you know, pop culture and just trivia and just normal stuff. I don't care about the answers. If you don't know the answers, just guess. If you don't want to think about it because it's a Friday afternoon, just click some answers. The main point for that is I just wanted to show you some of the question types that are available within assessments that aren't question types that would be available in other things. Like Google Forms is often used for little quizzes and things teachers use, which is a great tool. It's great for like multiple choice sort of type questions and some of those basic questions. But with this assessment tool, in Schoology, you have a lot more options for the types of questions that you can answer. And so there's some cool possibilities, I think, with these new questions. So I'm going to give you about a minute, maybe a little bit more, just to kind of take a look at that example assessment first. And then we'll look at what the results look like from that. And then I'll also show you how to build one of these and go through the different options that are available to you. And then we'll look at some specific question types and how to set those up with our remaining time. So like I said, I'm going to give you about a minute to do that assessment, and then I'm just going to be quiet for a minute, and then I will jump in and show you all the fun details.
Which assessment was that again?
Example assessment. It's the one at the bottom of the list. Yeah, the other one is one I created to show how to create it with our previous class. So you want the example one on the bottom. I think it's 5-ish questions, if I remember correctly. All right, just give me another few seconds. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like from the teacher side. Okay, so let me show you what the results sort of look like from the teacher side. You kind of looked at it from the student side, and then we'll go through how to create one. So I'm going to click on this example assessment. It'll open it up to this window where I'm going to have kind of 4 tabs across here. Okay, setup and questions. Those we'll go into detail about those in just a minute, because that's going to be all of the. Oh, know what? I told you the wrong one. I actually wanted you to do this 201 on the top because that has the different question types. Sorry about that. I told you the wrong one. I actually directed you to the one I created in the previous training and not the one I meant. So let's take a look at, let's give you a minute to do the Schoology 201 assessment. I'm so sorry about that. It's Friday afternoon. It's been a long week of PDs, so I kind of got my things mixed up there. So take a minute and answer those 5 questions. And then we'll look at results for those questions, and you can kind of see what it looks like on the teacher side. Sorry about that, y'all. That's my fault. And again, and don't worry if you don't know answers, if you just want to throw answers in there just so it looks like, so you can just see the different questions. That's really the main focus of those questions. Okay. I'm going to click into Schoology 201 assessment, the correct one this time. And you'll see this window. And what you'll see is 4 tabs, like I was saying before. These first 2, setup and questions, we'll go into those in just a few minutes because that's all the creation of the quiz and your options for it. What I want to look at now is the grading tab first, which is it defaults to. And what you can see here is you can see the questions, the 5 questions, and you can see average score, how many points they were, the question type. If I click on a specific question, it'll pop it open and I can see everyone's answers and who got it right, who got it wrong. Okay. Excuse me. And so what you can see here is you can see the question setup. This type of question is, what did they call this type of question? I forgot. It's a highlight hotspot type question. So this is a question where you had like a diagram and you can create these zones that students could click on. And in this example, you were supposed to click on apples that had red on them, right? So they click, 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 and you could get them right or wrong, okay? But you can see each individual student's response. And within this, you could add feedback to each student. I could give feedback to specific students about their responses. So you could look at it that way. So for each question, right? So question 2, we had a label image question, which is a different type of question where it had a diagram, excuse me, but you had to label different parts, okay? And again, you can see each student's answer. Question 3 was a matching question. So you had a column on the left and the column on the right, and you had to match up things there. Again, and these are all question types or types of questions you don't see in a lot of other assessment tools that we've used in the past, like Google and things like that. 4 was an ordering question. You wanted to put things in the correct order. Okay. And then the last one, number 5, was a fill in the blank question. Okay. So you can see here, I can break it down by question. I also have an option over here. I can break down results by student. Okay, and if I do that, I can see each student's results. Okay, I can see whether they've taken it or not, how many attempts, what their score is, how long it took them. Did they zip through it or did they actually spend some time? So you can get some of those stats here as well. Okay, and so that's the grading tab. Okay, nice thing about these quizzes is depending on the question types, if they're things like multiple choice, true, false, some of these like these questions I've set up, it automatically grades it for you. There are some questions you would have to go in and manually grade, but a lot of them auto grade for you. And then you also have a reporting tabs here, which is where it gives you some like graphs and some overall, generic stats for this particular assessment. Okay, and you can click, this performance. You can see low performance, medium performance, high performance. So which questions did most kids get right? Which ones did they really struggle with? Kind of helps you see where you might need to go back, maybe do a little reteaching perhaps. So there's some great info in there as well. Okay, so this is what it sort of looks like on the teacher side for once students have taken this. So let's look at how we set one of these things up, what the options are there. So I'm going to go back into the class and I'm going to start here. It's going to go into our materials tab. I'm going to go add materials and I'm going to choose this option, add assessment. And it's going to start off with this window, which looks very similar to the add assignments window, right? So this is where you're going to give it a name. So I'd see assessment number 3, let's say. I don't know. I'm not feeling creative on names, so I'm just going to do that today. You choose the due date. So let's make this due next week. And we'll only make this worth 25 points. All right, submissions. So this is, because it's a quiz or assessment type thing, you can enable it or disable it. If it's disabled, students can't take it. But if it's enabled, they can. You also have some options here of enable until. So if I do this, It will be enabled as soon as I hit create or I'm done creating it until a specific date. So it'll start as soon as you finish creating it to an end whenever. You can also choose the option underneath that, enable from until. So you could say, I don't want this to be, students can't submit until starting Monday, but then I want them to be done by Wednesday. So you could set those 2 dates and it will only accept submissions between those 2 dates. Okay. For this, I'm just going to say enable for right now. So it's just going to be open as soon as I am finished creating it for everyone. You can create a password if you want to for students to enter into this assessment. I'm going to leave that disabled. Here you choose your grading category. Okay. Period. Again, once your classes are created out of the Synergy data, once your schedules are released, that usually defaults. So you don't usually have to do too much with that. Factor, I don't ever usually mess with that. Again, this is just sort of like the assignments, whether you want it to sync to Synergy or not, and your grading scale. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Excuse me. And then we're to this window. And when we start a new assessment, it starts us in the setup tab. Okay. And what this does is this gives us some options for how our assessment's just going to behave in general and what options students have while taking the assessment. First part is just instructions. So here you could type out instructions that they might need for this quiz. You know, you can use your calculators if it's math, or, you know, you can use a page of notes, or you can't, or whatever. Whatever directions you feel you need for this assessment, you would put in here. Okay. Then we have a set of options called assessment settings. So this is some specific characteristics of this assessment we're creating. A time limit, we could put a time limit on this. It defaults to no, but if I hit yes, I can set it for a certain number of minutes. I could say you have 30 minutes to do this assessment, and I could set that to 30. Okay. Or you can just leave it no, and they have as much time as they need. Assessment questions are randomly ordered. So that would be for every student, they would get the same questions, but they would necessarily wouldn't be in the same order. So one student here, you know, their first question might be different than, you know, the person next to them. They're all going to get the same questions. It's just the order those questions show up changes. Excuse me. And then the last option here is show possible points for each question during the attempt. That basically means it just shows the students question 1 is worth 2 points. Question 2 is worth 5 points, you know, just showing the point value for each question as they're taking the quiz or the assessment. So that's that first section. Okay. The next one here is where it's called assessment toolbar. And this is where we can get into what things students have available to them while they're taking this assessment. So the first option is students can flag questions for review. So if they're working through the quiz, they're not sure on question number 2 and they don't want to spend all their time on it right now, they can flag it and then continue on the quiz. But then before they submit, they can go back and look at that question and, you know, decide on it, work more on it, whatever they need to do. Okay. The second option here is students can eliminate answer choices. So this allows them to go, I know the answer is not, you know, like if it's a multiple choice question, I know the answer is not A, so they can eliminate that, and it kind of actually helps them remove that as an option when they're looking at it. Students can use a calculator during the attempt. So that's a yes or no. And yes, you have a basic calculator or a scientific, and this is a built-in calculator in Schoology that pops up. So they wouldn't necessarily need to use their own personal calculator. Students can use a ruler, same idea. So you can turn that on or off. It's a little digital ruler that would pop up that allows that they can be used. Same thing with a protractor. You know, you can allow students to highlight text. That helps some students process questions if they can highlight key ideas or terms in the question that they're looking at. And you can also enable the ability for students to have a little digital notepad so they can, you know, write notes or scribble out things on the side there digitally as they're working through the question. Okay. So that's the toolbars section there. And then the last section here is student settings. So you can allow students to view the results after an attempt is submitted. So You get 3 options. No, so they can't see the answers when they submit, they just submit it. Yes, they can see the answers, which ones they got, or sorry, results, so they can see what they got right and what they got wrong. Or you can say yes with correct answers, and that would show them what they got right, what they got wrong, and ones they got wrong, it would give them the correct answers. Okay, so you can decide which way you want to go with that. Okay, and again, that might depend upon your assessment, the goals of your assessment and what you're doing with it. So I could say yes. Okay. A number of attempts, you can set this as well for students, right? How many times can they attempt this assessment? Is it just a one and done, or if you want to give them multiple chances, so if they don't do well the first time, they could improve their score? So you have choices. I think you can go all the way up to allowing 20 times, which is a lot of attempts. But let's say I want to set it to 3. As soon as you set something other than 1, you get this new option that shows up, which lets you decide what's the grade for this assessment. Is it the highest score, or is it the last attempt they took? Okay, so you can set either way. Highest score would just, if they took it 3 times, they would get the highest of those 3. If it's the last score, it's whatever they scored on attempt 3. If they scored higher on attempt 2, that doesn't matter for last score. It's whatever they did on that last attempt that they did. Okay. So, yeah, so that's our sort of options here underneath this setup tab. Okay. Any questions on that at the moment? If you do, you can type them in the chat there. I'm going to go ahead and move on here to the next tab, which is questions. And this is where we're going to create all of our questions. Okay. So once I click this questions tab, I'll look at it. And this will be where your assessments goes, where your questions will go. And over here, you can choose all of your different question types. And there's a lot, way more than like sort of like a Google Forms has and those sorts of things. So you start off with your standard multiple choice, true, false, questions. I'll click true, false. We'll start with a simple one, and you get a question type, right? So you type your question up here at the top. So this is kind of broken down into sections. You have the top section, which is the question, which is where you'll put in what the question is. Also, any options, like for a multiple choice, what are your multiple choice options? Then there's a section underneath where you set up the proper answer, give it point values, all of that sort of stuff. So let's see, I need a question. Pete, do you have a good multiple choice question off the top of your head? Yeah, me neither. You're muted, I think, but
I always go to geography things. What's the longest river? What's the longest river in the United States?
What is, okay, perfect. So, there we go. Longest river in the USA. I think my keyboard is dying.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think the batteries on my wireless keyboard are going kaput. Or it's just being super slow. I don't know, one of the two. All right. And then let's see, we'll have the Mississippi. Oh, IS.
I was gonna say, good luck.
Is that right?
MISSISSSI. Yes.
God, it looks so wrong to me right now, but I'm gonna go with it. What's the Missouri River? Missouri?
I think it's 2 S's.
You're right, it is. Now that I see it typed out. The Yellowstone River.
Hey.
Where I grew up. And I need another river.
The Snake.
Snake.
Nice.
Okay. I won't put river on that one and not the others. So all right, so you put your options in there, right? Then you go down here and you're going to set up your correct answer. Okay, so I have my 4 options. I'm going to choose the right one. Pete, I think we just talked about this the other day. Isn't it technically the Missouri River by like a
Yeah,
mile?
supposedly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like very minuscule difference
Yeah,
between.
it's like a couple miles or something like that. Yeah, amazing.
All right, so you choose the correct answer. And then underneath you have a couple options. You can choose shuffle options. So like shuffling the question order, this would shuffle the options that students see for every student. You have multiple responses. So here, if you wanted to put a question so there was more than one correct answer and they'd have to select multiple answers, you could do that. Okay. And then scoring type, you have 2 options. Exact match or partial. For a multiple choice like this, exact match. It's either they get the answer or they don't. Where partial matches can come in is like that example, if you have multiple selections, so maybe there was 2 answers they needed to correct. If you have exact selected, they have to choose both to get the question right. If they have one right and one wrong, they consider it wrong. But if you do partial match, and there's 2 answers and you get one of them right, it'll give you credit for the one you got right, but it will mark the one you got wrong off. Okay, so again, depending upon the type of question you have, that's something you want to be aware of there. Okay, and you can change the layout and stuff down here. And then basically I am just going to say save. All right, so then here's my first question. I can see what the question is. It's a multiple choice question and I can assign it points here if I want. So if I wanted more than 1, if I wanted to say maybe make that worth 2 points. Okay, pretty straightforward. And this is basically the process. You're just going to start building your assessment by adding these question types. I'm going to show you some of the ones that kind of popped up on that sample quiz, because there's some of the true, false, multiple choice. I feel like if you've used any other sort of assessment building tool, you kind of know the structure of those. Some of these new ones I want to just kind of highlight here. So let's start with a matching question. So again, this is a lot of these are pretty straightforward on how to set them up. They've done a pretty good job with the interface, in my opinion. So here you can type your question, right? So match the color to the fruit. I think I did this. This is the one I did on earlier this week, I think. So for prompts, I will put colors. So let's say red, and then we can go yellow. And let's see, I need another fruit color. Green. And I'll just do 3 options. Okay. Then I'm going to put possible answers. So I could say an apple, a lime, and a banana. Oop. All right. So I have my setup here now, my questions, my question and my options here. Then I go down here, set up the correct answer. Again, it's pretty straightforward. So red would be an apple, lime would be green, and banana would be yellow. Although you probably have that kid that argues, well, bananas can be green too, but this for example here, right? All right. And again, here I would probably personally would do partial match, so that if they match 1 or 2 of these, but not all 3, they would get credit for the 1 or 2 they matched. And then you just hit save. Okay. And for some reason, my computer is running super slow at the moment. I don't know why. But there we go. Okay, and again, here I could change the points. There's 3, I don't know, 3 points, 3 answers, I guess, maybe something like that. At any time, as you're building, if you want to see what this would actually look like for your students, you can go up here to this preview button, and it'll show you what the assessment looks like. So this is sort of the starting page. If I hit number 1, I will see here's what my first multiple choice question looks like. And I'll answer that. Okay. And then here's my other one, so I can kind of see what it looks like as I'm building, if I want to go check that. Okay, just hit this little X, it'll take you back to your builder. Okay. All right, I want to jump to these. There's three different types of fill in the blank questions. I want to talk about those real quick. I'll show you this first one and then explain what these other two are. So I'm going to go add a fill in the blank question. And I want to do this one because I want to show you how to put the blank into your question, right? So I need a question here. Geez, I'm really drawing a blank. The color, no. Oh, geez. Fill in the blank question. Okay, we'll go with Pete's geography. If I can type, capital of Vermont is blank. And for a blank, you're just going to put in an underscore. Okay. And you can put as many blanks in a question as you want. You can do more than one. You can do multiple blanks. So you can put that in. And then down here, you're just going to put in your right answer. And Pete, what is the capital of Vermont? You're muted. Because I really don't know. I just picked Vermont because I know you used to live there.
It's Montpelier, so Montpelier. Pelier.
Pelier.
Yeah, but all one word. Yeah,
Oh.
But that's fine.
Well, that's actually an important thing to note on this question, because if I can get rid of that other P, like that.
Yep.
Cool. Exact match or partial match, that comes into key here, because if I say exact match, it has to match this exactly in order to be marked correct. You can do partial match. And partial match on something like this, it gives it a little more freedom for misspellings and things like that. Okay, but it's not always perfect, so you need to be aware of that. So you might want to check that. And you can make it case sensitive. So if it's something like this case, maybe we want to make it case sensitive since it's a proper name for a place. You do want that capitalized. You could do that here. Okay. You can adjust character length. So, if it's just like a single word, you could set it down to 10 characters so you're not getting some weird long answer. All that sort of stuff. I do see there is a question about the learning objectives down here. If you click that, you can pull up these learning objectives and, connect. Oh, there you go. And connect to specific learning objectives here. Okay. That's what that tab is for. And it just makes that connection. That's more for, I think, you as a teacher. Because you can add questions to your test bank. There's a test bank in here. So you could add questions to that and pull them down later when needed. And if you have those objectives labeled, it can make that a whole lot easier. Okay. And then I hit save. I'm going to preview again here, and I'm just going to look at question 3. And you can see there's what the fill in the blank question looks like. I probably shouldn't have put a question mark there, should I? That's not really a question, it's a statement. But anyway, that's what we're looking at. The other fill in the blanks are, it's the same idea, but a drop down just gives you a little arrow and it opens up a little drop down menu where you have choices available for students, or a drag and drop is you could have blanks and then possible words at the bottom, and they just choose the right word and drag it up. Okay. Short answer essay. I know we're running low on time. We only got about 5 minutes. I just wanted to put this in here to show you that this is a question type that does not auto grade. You have to come in and grade these manually. Okay. And this is because for a short answer, you know, they're writing a couple sentences, maybe a paragraph about something, and to try, and the computer is really good at exact matching like words or multiple choice or things like that. But as soon as you get kind of open-ended, it can't handle that. So this is something where you would have to come in and grade this manually. Okay. I'm just going to highlight a couple other quick question types here as we go down. Audio, so this would be a question type where you could put a question in, and then the students have to make a little audio recording and submit that as their answer. And there's also the video option, which I think, Andy, I saw you in here, ASL, right? That might be useful for you. They could put a little, you could put a prompt up there to sign some sort of phrase or something, and then they would record them, make a video recording themselves signing that and submit it through this. File upload. So this is just, you could have, allow students to upload files for stuff. And then some of these question types you saw in the example with highlight hotspots and text, highlight image, all that sort of stuff. I would go into those in a little more detail, but we are out of time because we got like 2 or 3 minutes left here. But then once you're all done with this, question set up, your quiz is ready to roll. Okay, and we looked at the grading and reporting tabs already on the one you guys took earlier, and that's the quick sort of run through on this. It's really pretty cool. I like a lot of the question types that are in this assessment tool. It gives you lots of different options for question types from than you have with a lot of other tools. So, and it's all built right into Schoology. They don't have to open up any other documents or windows or anything. It just goes. Yes, so what you can do for an assessment, sorry, I didn't do this. You under actions, you can unpublish. So if you're not ready to actually push this out to students yet, you can unpublish. You can copy it to other courses if you have. But here's, I think, what you might want to do if you want to save it from year to year. You can save it to resources. Then it saves up in your resource tab up here on the top. And then the next year, you can pull that down into your new class very easily. Okay. And I think that's it, unless you got anything else to say, Pete.
Nope, I'm good.